Hey, so welcome to the FLŌ Training breathing tutorial. This is the basic breathing tutorial. So we're going to cover the basics of the breathing technique, how to use it, why it's important, and the basic science behind the breathing as well. So the first thing we're going to cover is how to sit. I know that probably doesn't sound that important, but it really is, because first of all, if you're not comfortable, it's going to be really hard to focus on your breathing. Right? If your legs hurt, if your back hurts, if something's bothering you while you're sitting, it's going to be hard to focus. The other thing though is if you're too comfortable. If you're too comfortable, it means you're probably not supporting yourself very well. Remember, we're trying to focus the mind, so we want to be in a position of strength, in a position of confidence, which means we want our shoulders back. You want your spine nice and straight. You want to feel strong. But if you're slouched, if you're sitting back in a couch, if you're sitting any which way, you're probably not in a very strong, confident position, which means you're not going to get the most out of these breathing techniques. So, option one is to sit on the floor like I'm sitting now. I'm not actually sitting on the floor, I'm sitting on a block, which is probably about this high. You could use a cushion, you can use a block, you can use a really short bench if you have one. If you're not flexible enough to sit like this, then you can try this. You can sit on a chair like this. But if you're sitting on a chair, make sure that you're still sitting up nice and straight, that the chair is nice and flat, that it's not too low, and that your feet are flat on the ground. But whether you're sitting on a chair or you're sitting on a block, here are the main things you want to focus on. First of all, you want to make sure that your hips are below your waist. What I mean by that is, for example, if I were to sit like this, now my hip area or my upper leg is above my waist, right? I need it to be below my waist. Because we're going to talk about diaphragmatic breathing. We're going to talk about expanding the stomach as you breathe. And if you're all bunched up at the hips like this, it's going to be really hard to do that. So you want to make sure that if you're sitting on the floor, you're able to have your upper leg area below the waist. And if you're sitting on a chair, same thing. Make sure the chair isn't too low, because then your hips are going to fly up, right? Second thing is you want to make sure your back is nice and straight. You don't want to be like super stiff, can't move kind of straight, but you don't want to be slouched. You don't want to feel weak. You want to feel strong. So back is nice and straight. Shoulders are back. They're not forced back, whatever comes naturally. Because remember, when you're breathing, when you're meditating, you're not going to be thinking about all these things. So it's important to get into this posture right away so you don't have to worry about it later. What to do with your hands? Your hands can go on your lap like this. You can open them this way. You can use a technique which is to touch your forefinger, your index finger and your thumbs together and hold them here. I really like this. There's a whole theory behind it. There's a lot of significance behind this position. I'm not going to get into that. But for me, it just creates this sense of touch that seems to help ground me into my breathing practice. So hands are like this, or like this, or like this. That's really up to you. And I guess the last thing is, what do you do with your head? Whatever comes naturally, right? You don't want to be looking up. Your eyes are closed anyway, so you kind of just want to have your gaze fixed to the horizon in front of you and just let your eyes close and whatever feels most comfortable for you, okay? So review quickly. Hips, upper leg area is below the waist, back is straight, shoulders back, hands comfortably on your lap, and your eyes are basically focused in front of you so that everything is nicely aligned. All right, so the next thing we're going to look at is the technique itself. The breathing rhythm is what I like to call it. So a few things you want to understand about the science behind all this. First of all, we're going to breathe in and out of the nose. Now, when we're talking about recovery breath, I mentioned that breathing in and out of the nose might be difficult in the beginning because you just did a high intensity workout. Remember, this isn't basic meditation 101. This is breathing after the high intensity movement session. So if you really pushed yourself, you may have a hard time breathing in and out of the nose. Another thing that comes up is, what if you're congested? What if some people have a deviated septum, or people have a cold, or there's always these things that might prevent you from breathing in and out of the nose properly. If you have to breathe through the mouth, breathe through the mouth. But as much as possible, you're trying to breathe in and out of the nose. If you are recovering from a high intensity movement session, then you can take a few breaths in and out of the mouth while you recover, but as soon as possible, try to focus on inhaling and exhaling, especially exhaling through the nose. So why? Why is the nose important? Because the nose is connected to the brain as where the mouth is not. So the nose cavity, which goes up through here, is connected to the limbic system of the brain. Now the limbic system is where your autonomic nervous system is regulated. So your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. And those control your stress response, right? So you just created stress, physical stress in your body through high intensity movement. So we want to use your parasympathetic system, which is what helps to regulate your stress response. Okay? So when you exhale through the nose, you're helping to trigger the effects of your parasympathetic nervous system. Don't worry about it if it sounds complicated. All you need to know is that exhaling through the nose is going to help relax your system, which is going to help trigger the positive effects that we're looking for. So you're breathing in and out of the nose. The next thing you want to know is as you inhale, you want to think about expanding your stomach outwards. Why? This is what something called diaphragmatic breathing. So the diaphragm is this membrane that sits right below the lungs. All right? It's a muscular membrane that sits right below the lungs. When you inhale, the diaphragm goes down. When you exhale, it comes back up. So when you inhale and it goes down, by expanding your stomach, you're basically just giving your diaphragm more real estate so it can go down a little bit deeper into the abdominal cavity. If the diaphragm is able to go a little bit lower, that means that you're able to bring in more air, more oxygen into your system because your lungs have more room to expand. All right? So diaphragm goes down a little bit lower, lungs can expand further, which means you're getting more air, more oxygen on each breath. At the end of your inhale, you want to hold your breath for about 3, 2, 1 seconds. The reason I like to do that, first of all, it gives me a sense of control on my breathing, but I also feel that it creates this little element of stress, which is going to enhance the effects of the exhale. So you're kind of upping the stress a little bit more just so that that exhale will feel that much better and you'll get an even stronger relaxation response. So you're breathing in as deeply as you can, expanding your stomach, expanding your chest. At the end of your inhale, you're going to hold that breath for 3, 2, 1, and then you're slowly going to exhale through the nose, allowing your stomach to come back into position, allowing your chest to decontract, and then repeat that rhythm over and over again. A little trick in the beginning to make sure that you're expanding that stomach properly is you're going to put one of your hands on your stomach. So as I inhale, I feel my stomach pushing into my hand. And then as I exhale, I feel it coming back. And that's just going to help train you to do it properly. If you don't put your hand there, there's a good chance that you're going to forget or you're not going to feel just how far you're capable of expanding your stomach. So that's it. That's the breathing technique. Now, obviously, with practice, it'll become more and more comfortable, but you don't need to know much more than that. So we're going to do a quick review. Seating position, main thing is that your upper leg hip area is below the waist, right? You're nice and straight. You have a strong posture. Shoulders are back, strong, confident position. Hands are on your lap. You can be this way, fingers touching, and your gaze is to the front. After that, the breathing rhythm, you're going to inhale as deeply as you can, pushing your stomach into your hand. At the end of the inhale, you hold the breath for 3, 2, 1, and then you exhale slowly through the nose and repeat. Now we're going to have more tutorials and more techniques on how to use breathing, but this is the basic breathing technique that you need to remember. Got it? If you have any questions, please contact me, and good luck. Peace.